Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of One Vision. This is Theo, your host for the episode. We do have a returning guest joining us today, as well as his colleague. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Thomas Mehlkopf, GM and Head of Working Capital Management Center of Excellence from SAP, and Christian Hecker, SVP, Chief Revenue Officer, and Office of the CFO from SAP. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us.
And it's great to have you back, Thomas. So great to continue the conversation. I know we left quite a few things. I don't know if we can actually touch on all of it this time, but let's start off with looking towards the future. How do you both expect the CFO role will change? And in particular, do you expect the CFO role to be even more critical in shaping the overall business given where we are right now?
Let me maybe get started, and Christian, then I'm curious to hear if we think alike on that one. For me, the short answer is yes. I do think it's getting more critical, Theo. Change is the only constant, and in a VUCA world, nobody else can manage change and setting up the company for success as well as a CFO can. So we have seen during COVID times already that CFOs are the right and left hand of a CEO. And I'm saying this not just from a financial stewardship, so looking at the bottom line, but also being more and more what I would call a guardian of value or performance. So really also driving growth and ensuring the company invest into the right areas for long-term value creation. So you might have heard zero-based transformation budgeting, where CFO would look into what are the investments I can afford and I should make to really set the company up for the strategic growth drivers, which also, of course, means not investing into other areas, but really trying to focus on the investments to set the company up best for growth, which of course every CEO also likes. So that's why I'm saying yes, more relevant and being the right or left hand of the CEO. Christian, what are your views on this?
No, actually, agree. Right. So the role definitely will change, and I do see it more in a strategic way, as you outlined. Right. So my background is also, I'm biased here a little bit. Right. 16 years in different finance functions within SAP, and I've also seen it changing quite a bit. Right. We started with a kind of business stewardship, then we said, okay, business partner. Then, because of our transformation, we called it transformation agent. And now we are calling it a financial copilot, which fits quite nicely, I think, right? Because you have a seat at the table, you're strategic, like a strategic advisor to the CEO, to the executive board, to the leading leadership team, to the leading group that is out there. So yeah, absolutely, it's moving in that direction. And I believe it's also pretty exciting to be a CFO out there.
So I got two new terms already, guardian of performance and the financial co-pilot. So that's actually both pretty cool. I don't think I've heard people call it that until now. So Christian, let's stay with you for a little bit. The Gartner CFO survey, or shall we say now the Gartner Financial Copilot survey, shows that 9 out of 10 CFOs project higher AI budgets in 2024. I would say in part it's not surprising. I do want to ask you, how will the integration of AI in business impact the skill sets that are required for the CFOs? And there are 2 parts to it. What new competencies will be needed and essential for success in these financial leadership roles? And why is it important for financial professionals to understand how this works? Because this is AI's technology, and how does that intersect with what you do?
That's actually a good question, right? So first of all, I do think it's pretty exciting times with the technology and how we can use it accordingly, right? So I just came out I just came back from a couple of days in the mountains on vacation, right? And I actually used Gen AI to help me make the plans where to go, what to do, where to eat, and it worked quite well. And the good thing was it saved me so much time, right? If you think about planning all of those different things. And this is exactly also true now for finance professionals, in my point of view, right? So freeing up capacity. It's the benefit of standardization, harmonization, now AI coming in. It's like new ways of working with the software. And it can be simple things. I think about you ask for your cost center, or you change the quantity of the sales order, or more advanced things like error resolution when closing the books, or even identifying business opportunities out there. In the end, there's still the human being the ultimate decision maker, but it's a much more educated one, right? So in order to make that more educated decision with the help of software, with the help of AI, you need to understand where is it good and where we do see some issues coming with it. So for example, what is the basic mechanism? Garbage in, garbage out, right? So it's all about data quality. It's about the processes. But it's particularly in a business environment, it's also the business context. And I believe this is important for the people to understand when they use AI, when they make their decisions accordingly.
It's always about the context.
Absolutely. Absolutely it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And I like what you just said too about garbage in, garbage out. That data is the foundation for a lot of these applications. So it's not just like you slap onto what you do and off you go. There's a little bit of homework that needs to be done. So Thomas, I want to ask you this. How do you see the application of AI in day-to-day financial processes, including what you do in working capital management? What are some of the main benefits?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think there should be no doubt anymore that this will have huge impact on finance, in my view. McKinsey has estimated that overall, across 63 use cases they were analyzing, it has an impact of 2.6 trillion to 4.4 trillion US dollars annually. If you think about it, the GDP of United Kingdom in 2021 was around 3.1 trillion. So it's even bigger than one entire country, right? So that is huge. But let's also be honest, to get the attention of the CFO, rightfully, these use cases have to be relevant, reliable, and also responsible. And let's start with relevant, because that basically means you need to have a business case, at least a midterm behind it, right? And when you look at working capital, as you said, so that's the area where I obviously feel very, very passionate about. I mean, that's all about free cash flow. So how can it help in the area in the aspect of free cash flow? And it starts even with predictions. So we are using, even at SAP, we have a solution to predict and forecast when a customer is most likely to pay. And then you can basically use this already, right? If you know that a customer might not paying, then you can take the next proactive steps and use Gen AI, etc., to communicate with this customer and making sure you make some changes with this customer, putting them on the right plans, etc., being very proactive about reacting on this. And then, of course, it has impact also on your liquidity plan. So you can use this data, and we do this, really looking at historical data and data anomalies to create a proposal how your liquidity will develop over time, right? So again, there's an AI aspect, and then of course when you look into working capital financing, then you have there also possibility to predict which working capital measures could help to be more successful. For example, which suppliers will be more likely to take an early payment offering? What would you need to offer at which interest rate, etc. So there's quite a lot of AI use cases we are already using, and the limit is almost not there, that we will push on to really use the power of AI to make better forecasts, to help the customer, and even identifying use cases where they might not even know yet about that they are not paying on time, and then also helping on the supplier side with working capital financing, etc., and AI to get early payments out. And that's only on the working capital front. Of course, you have other areas within the CFO space. I mean, of course, when it comes to everything around controlling, but also GRC, so everything that's risk related, right? Where it 100% makes sense to use AI more. Take the travel expense example. Nobody likes to audit these travel expenses, and you can have AI looking at this and identifying potential cases that raises some red flags where you need to look more deeply into. And there are many more, right? And this is only the part of, is it relevant? So is a business case behind it, and that's on us also to make it very relevant for the CFO. But then to Christian's point again, being also reliable, garbage in, garbage out. So you need to have a really clear data strategy, so that you don't end up in a situation where you only get a garbage out. And responsibility, I mean, of course, now you talk to two people from SAP, that's very close to our heart. Really having the right data protection in place, having only people seeing the data that have authorization to see the data. So you're probably coming back to my liquidity example. Not sure you want everyone in the company to see the full liquidity forecast for the next years and other data. So there, yeah, I would say these 3 R's are super important in my view, for CFOs to really manage to identify and invest into the right use cases.
And let me just stress one point here, right, as well, if I may. Sorry, Thomas, because I also do think, coming back to the business context, right? So hallucinations, as we also see it out there with some of, I mean, that would kill the business, right? If you have a business process and then you rely on the potential options that Gen AI or AI in general can give you, and you cannot trust them because you're not quite sure, or you do then your decision and it's a wrong one because there was some hallucinations in the system, that will kill the entire thing, right? So for that is the reason why it's so important for me that when we talk about Gen AI, that this is really fulfilled and that we have a data strategy with clean data, with the right processes and the likes, and then putting the right systems around it. Absolutely.
That's music to my ear, Christian. That is one key important aspect that I can't stress how important it is. You know, because at the end of the day, you are in the position of working with businesses. They depend on you, and that has to be reliable. They have to trust the information that they see. And Thomas, to your point, what you were talking about free cash flow, that reminded me of our first conversation about building up resilience. And I think it's even more important now compared to our last conversation in many, many ways. So let's move on to talk about future of work, because that's also another key aspect beyond data strategy, beyond what we're just talking about, that we need to keep in mind of. So in terms of future work in the office of CFO in particular, as we bring artificial intelligence to streamline what we do day to day, to improve staff productivity, to improve our operations, how should we approach the question of reskilling and upskilling? And, you know, as it comes to shifting work between humans versus technology, how do we find that balance? Because that's one thing that's always top of mind when we talk about, oh, you know, using technology, we can do so much more. We can free up the time. We can do things better and faster. What about the people that were in there in the teams?
That is actually a really interesting and question. And Thomas, would be really interesting to hear your thoughts on this. And let me be a little bit provoking here, right? So, as I said, it's the end-to-end processes to me. It's then the clean data, the intelligent system you put on top. But you really need the people to make it happen and to make it work in the end. So a quote I read really resonated with me. It said like something, tech won't put people out of their job. People that are not understanding how to leverage new tech out of their job. So I think it's important that finance professionals, they keep learning, they stay open for new technologies, but also that we have companies that they make sure that they create the right environment for their employees to learn, allow the time that they can learn, providing the right learning platforms, sessions, whatever, in order to bring them closer to the technology, that they can be more productive in their job, so they can really shift their time and efforts into the more value-adding tasks, really steering the business, identifying growth opportunities, finding areas where we can cut costs sustainably. What about making the best out of their cash, right? So this is where the people, from my point of view, should focus on. And AI and new technology is a great way to get there. Thomas, what do you think?
100% agreed. I mean, yeah, you are spot on in my view. I think maybe to bring in a little bit of a different color as well, I think it also requires a little bit of a cultural mind shift within finance, because traditionally, and I can say this because I mean I was in finance for a long time as well. There is a little bit of a risk-averse culture, right? Because that's what still is quite important. You need to manage the P&L. You need to make sure everything is right. But I think now there comes this additional point in that you also need to take some calculated risk and pivot fast on some things. So this is coming on top. It doesn't mean that the managing the risk, etc., is going away. But I think that this agile kind of exploratory skill set is coming on top that finance professionals need to embrace. And I give you an example. Actually, I liked your example, Christian. I did over the weekend, I worked on a presentation. I do sometimes guest lectures at a university here in Germany. So I worked on my PowerPoint, so to say, and I thought, why should I? I mean, it's time of Gen AI, so I should not build these slides anymore on my own. I hate it, honestly. I hate building slides. So I thought, okay, there's no critical data in, it's all just educational. I can use one of the tools that is out, right, to really build this. And guess what? There are a lot of Gen AI tools to build PowerPoints, but honestly, I failed. So after 1.5 hours of trying this out, many different tools, I ended up to build it again the old traditional way on my own. And that's fine, right? So I still, by the way, if anyone here who's listening today has a good tool, please ping me and let me know, because I really want to explore this. But I think that's also fine. You sometimes need to try things out. You need to fail. That doesn't mean I'm convinced there will be a good tool at some point of time who can absolutely do this via Gen AI. Maybe I used the wrong one, or whatever the reason is. But what I want to come across with this story is, it's about being eager to learn new things, being open to also fail and quickly move on. And that doesn't mean that this topic is dead. Absolutely not. That topic Gen AI will not go away. And I encourage everyone to really be curious and take some calculated risk, I would say, to try things.
I like that. You could also think about AI being a little intern for you. You need to train, so you need to invest time for yourself. in order to get them up to speed. So imagine a Gen AI that learns why you didn't like it, and then next time there's another program, and you can exactly do this then on the business AI side as well, right? So what is important for this specific end user? How can we like help them, or can software help them, new technologies help them to be more efficient and the likes, that the system learns, right? So I believe this is an exciting time, and we really should leverage these new technologies coming in, while at the same time invest the right amount of time in order to make it happen 100%. Yeah.
Thomas, I was a little worried in the beginning when you said
Yeah.
that you were preparing the lecture. I thought you meant you actually put the bot in the lecture, and the bot was doing the teaching for you. I'm like,
No,
wait,
no, no.
what? We
Not
advanced.
yet. Maybe that comes in 5 years. For now, I only looked into getting my Word document into a PowerPoint. But you never know.
Never know. Maybe the next conversation I'll be talking to you, digital twin. Christian, beyond AI, and I love this topic. I know Thomas and I talked about it last time. We need to talk about AI. So thank you for satisfying my curiosity. But beyond AI, what technologies are helping to transform the financial processes? What else should we be on the lookout for?
That's actually a good point, right? So everybody is talking about AI, Gen AI now, and I believe now with the large language models, this is the game changer. Why it resonates that nicely, right? Because out of a sudden, instead of you looking into the systems, into the data to find the answers yourself, you can actually interact with the system accordingly in like a natural fashion. But I also do think it's important to recognize that there are already great tools and assets out there, right? So when we talk about process harmonization, standardization, process automation out there, right? So Thomas mentioned travel expense auditing, right? Same is true for tax compliance. Who wants to do tax compliance, right? Visual inspection when we talk about the supply chain, automated invoice processing, this kind of stuff. And it's all there in order to free up time where, again, the employees out there, the finance executive, the finance professionals can then really go in and help the business decide on the right things in order to move the entire business forward, right? And at the same time, we also have great methodologies, great partners out there helping with the finance transformation. We did it ourselves. Our finance transformation, I believe, is now 12 years and counting, Thomas. Right, so we started already quite some while ago, and with this business steward, business partner transformation agent copilot topic, but it keeps going, right? Because there's new technology coming in, it changes the way you work. There's new opportunities out there, but in the end, it's really all around the people, right? So I liked how you phrased it earlier, and all the technology doesn't help if you lose the people on the way, and that is why it was for us so important to have a dedicated, and we even have a dedicated general finance academy, right, where we train the people what is going on in the field of finance, how will your job change in the future, what will you need, what we need you to do going forward, and the likes, which really resonates well, right? And then you have the end-to-end business process, you have the clean data, you have the intelligence system on top, surrounded by the people that can actually make it happen. And this is for me then, that is the next big thing for me, where we will see a massive boost in productivity.
So to take that step forward, I'm now like trying to visualize literally what you were just saying, the building blocks of the technology with people around it. Then you think of the intersection of finance and tech. Thomas, how can CFOs and CIOs collaborate effectively in that sense? When you think about digital transformation initiatives across businesses, how do we make sure that there is alignment between the financial strategies and tech investments, because they're intertwined together?
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, you're spot on. I think there's also sometimes a little bit the myth that CFOs are the ones who always say no, the naysayers, and then the CIOs who are trying all the new shiny gadgets out and it's not really moving forward. And I don't think that is really true. I do believe CFOs and CIOs definitely have to partner up. It's on the CFO, right, to make sure that we invest the capital for the right things. Coming back to the initial right, where we said guardian of performance and value. So identifying the right things, making sure there's capital allocated to also then invest into this. For example, AI. I mean, I think every CFO should have a clear plan on where to invest on AI and be really closely aligned with the CIO to make that sure. And then for the CIO to really follow through then on the technology, but also on the processes part, because to make the transformation happen, it's people, we touched on it, it's processes, and it's technology. By the way, we at SAP now, we have changed that. We have the CIO is also looking after processes. So we really combine this because we truly believe, I mean, the one thing can't go without the other thing. So it's really for us hand in hand. And then of course the CFO need to provide the funding, so to say, that you can transform accordingly, and it should follow the strategic imperatives that the company has in mind. Yeah, I would say that's for me really where it comes together. And then of course we need to, the CFO will also judge then the CIO on, did we fulfill the business case, etc. And this will create even more credibility to allow investing into additional things.
It's almost like a check and balance of sorts. You know, CFO coming up with a plan and a strategy on when to invest, what to invest, CIO executes and make sure that they are on target. I like that. I did chuckle though when you were saying that it's a myth that CFOs always say no. So that's a good thought. I will remember that next time. Now, before we wrap up, what are your final thoughts on a fun question? Can AI become a villain without human supervision? And that's not a trick question. Anyone, if you want to go first?
Yeah, maybe I can start, Thomas. When you ask this, one of my favorite music comes to my mind. I, Robot. Do you know it? It's like basically where AI is locking down every single human being in their own apartment in order to protect human beings for themselves, actually, right? So you shouldn't do anything anymore because you will kill other people. So that is the bottom line. But from my point of view, it's really, I do see AI become much more independent than many people think. And actually, I'm super excited to see it happening, right? So actually, the opposite what this movie tells you. But I do think it will create so much opportunities out there. And yes, it will be a change and a cultural shift as well. Thomas talked about it. But I do think it's really exciting to see. And I would love to have my own robot, like taking care about the house. I don't need to like clean and stuff anymore. I can focus on the things that are important for me in life. Absolutely, count me in.
What about you, Thomas?
Well, I'm in on the cleaning as well. No, just kidding aside. I agree. I do think it will get more independent, and of course, it's on us to set up clear rules, etc. And that's something probably we can do an own podcast just on this, because it's a very complex topic, 100%. But I also see the many advantages, and I would rather say AI should be one of my best friends, and we should really embrace it with the right rules. But then, yes, of course, it should be also a little bit more independent in what the AI does. I think the potential definitely is there.
The potential is there, and I feel like we're all very excited about what it can do for us as a co-pilot, to borrow your words, Christian. So thank you. Thank you so much, both of you, Thomas and Christian, for joining us for another fun conversation. Now I need to think about what else we can talk about next. So many things. I like what you were just talking about too, Thomas, on humans setting up the rules, the boundaries, if you will, for it, that it will be operating within, and what else it can do for humans. But for now, thank you so much for sharing time with us and your insights. And for the rest of our listeners, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of One Vision. We'll talk to you all next week.